air in the courtroom was thick with anticipation, the tension almost palpable. Reporters lined the back wall, their cameras lowered but ready, whispering among themselves, already drafting the next day's headlines. Lawyers shuffled their papers, exchanging last-minute strategies in hushed tones. But amidst the charged atmosphere, one woman walked in with the confidence of a queen entering her court. Vivian Carlisle was not just a name. She was a brand, a force, a woman who had never heard the word no, and certainly never abided by rules she did not set herself. Dressed in a crisp, tailored white suit that cost more than the yearly salary of half the people in the room, she strode in, not as a defendant, but as a victor. Her sharp eyes flickered around the room, acknowledging no one, dismissing all. She lowered herself on the defense table, exhaling softly, as if the entire proceeding was a minor inconvenience, a temporary setback in an otherwise impeccable record of dominance. The charges against her: securities fraud, wire fraud, obstruction of justice. She had orchestrated financial deception on a grand scale, manipulating numbers, misleading investors, and strong-arming regulators. But as far as she was concerned, none of it would stick. She had the best lawyers money could buy. She had connections. She had power. At precisely 9 a.m., the bailiff stepped forward, his voice parked through the chamber with an authoritative command. All rise, the Honorable Judge Malcolm Everett. The room obeyed. Even Vivian's own legal team rose, though some hesitated when they realized she hadn't moved an inch. She remained seated, one leg crossed over the other, fingers resting against her knee. There was amusement in her gaze as she studied the judge entering the room, waiting to see if he would dare challenge her. Judge Everett was known for his sharp intellect and intolerance for theatrics. He had presided over some of the most high-profile cases in the country, earning a reputation for being incorruptible. The moment he took his seat, silence reigned. Then, in a voice steady and firm, he spoke. "Miss Carlisle, this court follows standard procedure. I expect you to do the same." A slow smirk curved Vivian's lips. "I stand for people I respect, Your Honor." A hush fell over the room. Even her attorney stiffened. Judge Everett, however, didn't flinch. "That is your park ice," he said simply, turning his attention to the prosecution. For the first time, Vivian felt an inkling of something foreign. He hadn't played her game. He hadn't reacted. Worse, he had dismissed her entirely. That wasn't supposed to happen. And then the trial began. Assistant District Attorney Nathaniel Carter rose, a man who had built his career on dismantling the powerful. "Your Honor, the state is prepared to proceed." "Proceed?" Nathaniel turned to the jury. "The case against Miss Carlisle is clear. The evidence will show that she knowingly engaged in fraud, misled investors, fabricated financial reports, and obstructed justice." Vivian remained impassive, barely acknowledging the words. Then the prosecution called its first witness, Ethan Park, a former financial officer at Carlisle Technologies. He looked uncomfortable on the stand, his fingers twitching slightly as Nathaniel asked, "Mr. Park, during your time at Carlisle Technologies, were you instructed to alter financial reports?" Park hesitated. Then finally, "Yes." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Vivian exhaled sharply, her irritation evident. She had anticipated this. The parade of so-called whistleblowers eager to paint her as a villain. "And who gave you that instruction?" Park swallowed hard. "Ms. Carlisle." The response sent another wave of whispers through the gallery. Reporters scribbled notes, their pens clicking furiously. But it was Vivian's reaction that caught everyone's attention. A quiet laugh, dismissive, laced with disbelief. Then she did something no one expected. She stood. The chair scraped against the polished floor, slicing to the tense air. Her lead attorney paled, his mouth parting as if to caution her. But she ignored him. Instead, she turned her gaze directly to Park. "Tell me, Ethan," she said smoothly, "was it an email, a phone call, a memo, or are you just another underqualified employee looking for an excuse?" Gasps filled the room. Nathaniel stepped forward immediately. "Your Honor." Judge Everett lifted a hand. "Miss Carlisle, sit down." She didn't move. "I have a right to confront my accuser." "You have a right to a defense," the judge replied evenly. You do not have a right to disrupt my courtroom. Disrupt? I'm just asking a question. She folded her arms, her smirk returning. He's lying. The judge's stare was unwavering. This is my last warning. Sit down. But Vivian Carlisle didn't take orders. Not from board members, not from regulators, and certainly not from a judge. And what she did next sent the courtroom into chaos. She turned her back on the judge. The bailiff stepped forward. Ma'am, I need you to turn and face the judge. She didn't. The bailiff's hand touched her arm. She yanked away violently. The water glass crashed to the floor. Gasps. Chaos. The bailiff moved in. Bailiff. Judge Everett said, his voice colder than steel. Contempt of court. The cuffs snapped around her wrists, and for the first time in her life, Vivian Carlisle understood something she never had before. She had lost. The jury deliberated for less than 7 hours. The verdict? Guilty on all counts. Judge Everett barely hesitated before delivering her sentence. Given the severity of these crimes and a clear intent to mislead, this court finds it appropriate to impose a sentence of 18 years. Vivian barely heard the reporter scrambling, her lawyers scrambling, the weight of those words pressing down on her like a crushing force. The bailiff stepped forward again, and this time she didn't resist, because power means nothing when you believe you're above consequence.